I was 27 when this happened, working as a junior systems analyst at a mid-sized logistics company tucked inside a converted warehouse on the edge of town. My personality was invisible, I guess. The kind of guy who brought the same peanut butter sandwich every day, nodded to people in elevators, and avoided office politics like it was radiation. I lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment with a leaky sink and a neighbor who practiced trumpet at midnight. Nothing dramatic, nothing special, just work, gym, sleep. It started in late October, that awkward season where mornings feel like winter, but afternoons still pretend it's fall. Our office had tall windows that never quite got cleaned, so the light came in dusty and pale, like everything was seen through an old photograph. The building smelled faintly of cardboard and industrial cleaner. The HVAC rattled constantly, like bones settling. Most days were predictable to the point of being comforting. Coffee burned my tongue. My login password failed twice. Emails stacked up. I'd run through server logs while my co-worker Marissa read celebrity gossip over my shoulder, and my boss Craig muttered about efficiency. We were a small team, 12 on a good day, fewer once flu season started. The new guy arrived on a Tuesday. His name was Nathan. Craig introduced him during our morning meeting, clapping his hands together in that fake enthusiastic way managers learn. Nathan will be helping with network support and internal audits. Show him the ropes. Nathan stood, offered a small wave, and smiled without showing his teeth. I remember thinking he looked careful, not shy, intent. Nothing about him screamed danger. If anything, he blended in too well. Nathan's desk ended up across the aisle from mine, close enough that I could hear his keyboard. Soft, fast, precise. He worked without headphones, rarely checked his phone, and took meticulous notes in a black spiral notebook that never left his hand. He dressed like he was going to a job interview every day. Button-down shirt, no wrinkles, shoes polished to the point you could see reflected light in them. At first he seemed normal, quiet, but polite. "Morning," he'd say, every day. Same tone, same volume, eyes always scanning my face like he was learning it. I showed him how to access the internal system, which folders were outdated, which ones to never, ever delete. He listened with an intensity that made me feel like I was being studied rather than trained. When I finished, he nodded once and said, "Got it." Like the closing of a mental file. We took lunch around the same time, so eventually we ended up in the break room together. He never brought food. Just sat at the table with a bottle of water, meticulously peeling off the label while staring at nothing in particular. "Don't you eat?" I joked once. He tilted his head. "Not when I'm working." It didn't come out as rude. It came out final. I tried to fill the silence the way people do in offices, mentioned the cold weather, complained about updates, asked where he was from. "Here and there," he said. Over time, I noticed little habits. He washed his hands a lot, not nervously, methodically. Counted his steps when walking down the hallway, always, left exactly at 6:12 p.m. I assumed it was just some kind of routine thing. People were weird. That was office life. One evening, Marissa leaned over and whispered, "Does Nathan freak you out? Or is it just me?" I shrugged. "He's just quiet." "Yeah," she said, watching him from behind her monitor. "But quiet like locked door quiet." It felt silly to agree, but when I looked at him through the glow of my screen, his face blank and expressionless, I felt an unexpected chill. like standing too close to an open freezer. I shook it off. I'd always had an overactive imagination. The first truly strange thing happened on a Friday. I came in late after oversleeping, 10 minutes past my usual time. When I reached my desk, my computer monitor was on. Not the login screen, but my email inbox. I froze. I always locked it. At first I thought maybe I was mistaken. Maybe I hadn't locked it yesterday. Memory is slippery like that. I sat down slowly, scanning the screen. Nothing appeared tampered with. No emails opened. No messages sent. I checked the activity log. No logins. It didn't make sense. I brushed it off, but the sense of being unsettled clung to me all morning like static. Later that day, I noticed Nathan watching me from across the aisle. Not subtly, just looking. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. He smiled. "Is something wrong?" he asked. "No," I said, "just tired." He nodded. "You look it. Not your eyes, not your face. You." Over the next week, things escalated in tiny, almost invisible ways. My desk drawer was slightly open when I was sure I'd closed it. My mouse felt warm when I got back from the bathroom. Once, I found a post-it note under my keyboard. Blank, facing up, like it had been placed deliberately. I finally installed a webcam at home, thinking maybe I was just becoming paranoid in general, but something about work felt wrong in a way my apartment didn't. Then, one afternoon, Nathan left his notebook at his desk. I spotted it as I passed by for coffee. The black cover stood out against the antiseptic beige of the office like a bruise. I didn't mean to snoop. I swear I didn't. But something inside me tugged. I opened it. The first few pages were diagrams and notes, but then my name. Written neatly, repeated over and over. Beside it were dates, times, small notes in the margins. Drank coffee, 2 sugars. Late on Friday. Finger tap, anxious rhythm. I closed the notebook so fast my hands shook. Behind me, a chair scraped. "Looking for something?" Nathan asked. I turned. He stood too close. I laughed too hard. Too fast. "Yeah, sorry, man. Just thought it was mine." Nathan took the notebook from my hands gently. Too gently. "It's okay," he said. "You were curious." It wasn't a question. After that day, he stopped pretending. He started showing up everywhere. In the elevator when I left work. On the same bus, sitting across from me, eyes fixed on the window, but always getting off at my stop. Once, I caught his reflection in my building's front door after midnight. I confronted him on a Tuesday. "You've been following me." He looked surprised, but his eyes weren't. "We work together," he said calmly. "We live close. That happens." "No," I replied. My voice was shaking. "You come into my space, you watch me." For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, "You're interesting." I went to HR. They smiled sympathetically and offered to connect me with office mediation. I went to my boss. He sighed and said, "He's just odd. Don't take it personally." Then came the email. From my own account. Subject line, "Do you see me now?" I hadn't sent it. The message was empty. When I confronted Nathan, he simply tilted his head. "People can get into things they don't understand," he said. "That night I found my apartment door unlocked. The chain hung loose. Inside everything looked the same, except for my bedroom. Someone had moved my pillow, turned it over, like they'd tested it for softness. On the far wall, scrawled lightly with what looked like chalk, 'You missed me.' I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch with every light on and a kitchen knife in my hand like it was a lifeline. By morning, my nerves felt stripped bare. I went to work anyway, I don't know why. Routine, maybe, a desperate need for things to feel normal. Nathan wasn't at his desk. Relief hit hard, then something cold and wrong followed it. Halfway through the day, I got a chat message. Come to the server room. I stood up so quickly my chair fell backward. People glanced at me. No one said anything. My phone buzzed. Another message. You owe me a conversation. I don't know why I went. Maybe I wanted it to end. The server room was cold and dim, bathed in blue LED lights. The hum of machines filled the air like a living thing. Nathan stood in the corner, smiling. You shouldn't be here, I whispered. You invited me into your life, he replied. I didn't. You did, he said sharply. The way you watch people, the way you disappear, I just did it better. I backed away. My foot hit something. The door closed. The difference, he continued, stepping closer, is that you still think you're alone. What do you want? I asked. He leaned close enough that I smelled soap on his breath. To be seen. I slammed my elbow into his ribs and ran. I don't remember how far or how long, just the sound of alarms and shouting behind me. The police told me there was no evidence he'd entered my apartment. HR told me Nathan had resigned that afternoon. His desk was clean, his files were gone. No forwarding address, no emergency contact. It was like he'd never existed. For weeks, I slept with lights on. I moved apartments, changed numbers. Yet sometimes, my phone lights up with no notification. Sometimes my reflection lingers in windows too long, like someone else is learning my face. It's been 3 years. Last week, a package arrived at my office. No return address. Inside was a black spiral notebook. The first page was blank. The second had one sentence. You still haven't learned how not to be seen. I quit 2 hours later, and every night since, I check the locks twice, then once more, just in case he's already inside.